how could you like to make your first million? And today we have Ivan Turk with us, which is the founder of Turk Law Group. And this is a law firm, but also he's the founder attorney and shareholder, former attorney to President Donald Trump, CEO of American Rights Alliances, founded by Donald Trump Jr. Ivan is a distinguished legal authority known for his family proficiency in law and wealth strategy. An accomplished author, entrepreneur, and founded the American Rights Alliance. So, Ivan, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
The first million, the first 5 steps is wake up every day like your life depends on it, work your butt off, make no excuses. Do not
Step
compare
number
yourself.
2. Yeah.
Step number 2 is make no excuses. Step number 3, do not compare yourself to your friends who are possibly leaving work early at 5 o'clock and hanging out, watching football. Step 4 is learn how to delegate. And step 5 is believe in yourself.
So, Ivan, how a lawyer become an entrepreneur? Because it's a completely different skill sets. When it was not easy for you, I mean, with the profile that you have, it's so easy to go and work in the law firm. It's completely different dynamic to being an entrepreneur that also to being a lawyer. To tell us what has been your biggest challenge and how you overcome that challenge.
The biggest challenge is to not collect a paycheck every single week. The biggest challenge besides that is knowing who you are and what you're capable of doing. Believing in yourself is the next thing. And most important is make no excuses. I got into this as an entrepreneur because I didn't want to work for somebody where there was a roof on top of me. I wanted to build the foundation, and I was young. And I realized that I didn't need to get a salary to make my life happy. I needed to build a foundation where my work, I don't work for my job works for me eventually. And that's the difference.
So tell us the story, how you managed to even working with the actual president of United States. That's amazing. Can you tell us the story?
It's a small world. They say don't believe in circumstances, but I have no idea how it happened otherwise. But my law firm is not too far from the Winter White House here in Palm Beach, Florida, and through people that I knew, one in particular, and another attorney that I was very close with, happened to go to high school, military school, with the president. So the president calls him his oldest friend. I say that's because he is his oldest friend on earth, but that's our inside joke. Because of other people that I knew and he knew, and just chance, Alina Habba, which is Trump's attorney, one of his primary lawyers, needed us, or Peter is his name, who I work with, to represent the caseload as local counsel for the president. And that's how we got on board.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. So, what are the in this journey that you have as an entrepreneur, okay, and as a lawyer? Can you tell us your experience about writing this book? The title of your book. What is your favorite chapter, and what inspired you to write the book?
Well, I didn't want to get my LLM in law, which is after your law degree, you go back to school and get a master's of law. They do it backwards. Lawyers get their doctorate, then their master's, where everyone else gets their master's and doctorate. I didn't want to go back to school to get my master's. And I looked at what was just as impressive, if not more, and it was to write a book. I said, I can do that. I can handle writing a book. So that's what I did. and then I got it published. And to answer your question, my favorite chapter is the first chapter lays out everything else in the book, and it lays out why the book is written and what is necessary in order to take it from step one, two, three, four, and five. The book's called Asset Protection by Design, and this is not for just the super rich. It's for protecting one's wealth when for the middle class, for the people who've worked their entire life, and if they lose half their wealth or all their wealth, they're going to have to start over. For a lot of people who are entrepreneurs and have the entrepreneurial mindset, they can be broke and then find another way next day, next
100%.
month to build the wealth again. So although I have that mindset, I realize most of my clients wanted to make sure that they are protected. And the book goes into great details about things that are targeted not just for the rich, but for the middle class, for everyday America.
So, tell us what are the five key things that people can do, entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs, that they can do to protect their assets.
Do not get married. All kidding aside, a lot of the strategies here in Florida is to open accounts in the spouse's name. And it's like basically bringing the fox to the chicken house, as the saying goes. So, what we recommend doing is setting up LLC structures and limited partnerships, and create family structures where the entire family is included.
Yeah, 100%. And it's as important to build wealth, but also to keeping it, right? And
Yes,
uh,
absolutely.
so the tell us a little bit more about your firm. What do you specialize? What can you help people with? How this process work?
So our firm does focuses on protecting wealth and multi-generational wealth. And that doesn't need to mean that you have millions and millions in the bank. It means to me that your life sacrifices are not thrown down the toilet at the end because of poor planning. So it's about planning for present and planning for the future and the next generation. So we do a lot of estate planning, trust designs. A lot of our clients are entrepreneurs as well, which we represent their business interests as consultants and advisors to their needs. For example, this week I'm going to court, small claims court of all things, because one of my clients requires it. It's funny because as a lawyer, you go through all levels of court and you never remember to go back to small claims court. But sometimes you have to do that as well. But it's just protecting our clients' wealth through estate planning, through asset protection. And sometimes we have to deal with probate when people do not plan properly. They come to us when father, mother, aunt, uncle passes and they left their wealth without listing beneficiaries, and we need to transfer it to the rightful owners through probate.
Yeah, and in this podcast, we have interviewed 500 millionaires, and they all have shared stories. And there was one podcast guest that we interviewed here that he said, "This entrepreneurs make a lot of money. I give it to the financial planner, and he was not checking properly. And after he checked, a lot of zeros was missing." They was
Yeah.
saying it was saying that the financial planner they made the money in fees and commission, and sometimes
Hmm.
it doesn't have the best interest of the client. Of course, this is not for everybody. This is particular cases out there. Um, so without mentioning any names, any story that you have seen that people that have been very, very wealthy went to lose a lot of money because they haven't taken care of this properly?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, the biggest is picking the wrong spouse. That could not only because of divorce, but because of drama in one's life. Being an entrepreneur in particular, you need to
Well,
be
maybe
laser
the spouse,
focused.
no, maybe the lawyer of the spouse is what give you the problem, no?
It could
Even the
always
spouse
be
can be
the
nice, but
lawyer.
if the lawyer is not nice, that could be a problem, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? They don't teach kindness in law school. So yes, I met a lot of people who I wouldn't share a meal with, or less trust as a lawyer, that are ruthless. And I have had to deal with that throughout my career. People that, use, I call it lawfare. They just basically use the law as a weapon rather than as a mechanism to resolve issues. But getting back to your question, um, the thing that I see more often than not is just clients trust the wrong people and they go to business with the wrong people. And the one thing I do not understand, um, and everyone is prone to this mistake, they don't do background checks when they go to business with others. So all of a sudden, they're in business with somebody and everything is great until it's not great. And what people do not realize, and I realize it not because I'm smarter than everyone else, but because as an attorney, I see it from a different perspective, is that people trust others too much until they need something and there's a problem. And about from my experience, only 10% of the people you think you can trust, you could truly trust through all life experiences. Not because people are bad, but people have different viewpoints and different agendas. So
Yeah.
the what I address is every business plan, every strategy, you need to have an exit to figure out when this doesn't go well, and it won't. How do I get out of this unscathed?
So with the advance of AI technology, a lot of law firms, right? They're they are they have a structure which is most of the lawyers that have been in this podcast that had shared the story. They always said that the majority of the clients they get it from referrals, right?
Hmm.
Which reflects that they're amazing lawyers. They do a great service, so people recommending them. However, now with the use of AI, it seems that um that those lawyers that embracing the the new technology are those ones that is gonna be ahead. So, what do you think, or what is your point of view between this advance of technology and law? Can be a benefit? Do everybody have to embrace it, or we keep doing it in the traditional way?
Well, those who do not embrace it are going to be out of business in 5 years.
Mm.
Right now, I've seen a record amount of people, including the small claims court case that I'm dealing with this week, is people who have AI. They think that they know how to handle it, and they go to law. They pretend they're a lawyer, and they go to the courts, and it makes the courts much more complicated because AI can't walk you through all of it. But AI is amazing in law for clients because they can review things so that they could come prepared for meetings. If I'm talking about asset protection and they're sitting down with me, typically a client would either not do any research or do minimal Google search research. Now they go in AI and they know everything about me. They also know everything about the strategy and they think they know everything. And my job is to help guide them through with all the information's out there. And it just changes the dynamic between the relationship between the client and the attorney. But I embrace it, just like the internet, just like email, just like everything else, because if you don't, you're out of business. You don't have a
Yeah,
choice.
100%,
I
100%.
remember years ago when I started practicing law, they have all the filings was electronically based, and there were still lawyers until maybe 5 years ago. I had a case where the lawyer didn't use the e-filing portal. It's called electric filing portal, and he had to do everything the old-fashioned way. I don't even think they let you do it anymore. And things change. You have to evolve. And who would want to hire an attorney that hasn't evolved?
How is involved in the business of law firms? I hear, correct me if I'm wrong, that before in United States, you had to be a lawyer in order to run a law firm, and it came to my attention that there are some places now that you actually don't need to be a lawyer in order to run a law firm. Um, which is bring a second complexity to the equation, because those ones, if they are not lawyers but they are good entrepreneurs, they can get ahead, um, versus lawyers that they are entrepreneurs, because those ones that they are entrepreneurs, they know about sales, they know about marketing, they know about all those things that, not that lawyers don't like. It's like, you're lawyers for a reason. It's because you love what you do regarding the law and things like that. Whether running a law firm, you have to be a lawyer and an entrepreneur is already too much. But I hear that now they are allowing people in some places that they can run law firms without being lawyers. Can you explain a little bit on this? Is that correct? Is it not? Or how
Well,
how
from
how it works?
what I believe is it's only the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C.
Mm.
Um, I could take both
So
sides of this argument.
what do you hear? What do you hear that in Washington D.C. you don't need to be a lawyer to run a law firm?
Yes,
Oh
and
wow, only in
but
Washington, right?
I might be wrong. It might be another jurisdiction,
Mm,
but the
mm,
only time I've encountered this was somebody who said to me, "We can share in referral fees because you don't need to be a lawyer in DC." But it brings a lot more complexity because you can't in Florida. And in Florida, we have an ethics department that you call. It's a hotline, which is a wonderful service. You call them and say, "Hey, Joe Schmo is not a lawyer. He's runs a law firm in DC, wants to hire us for this. What can we do and what can we not do?" And they're amazing. They have answers to this, but the bottom line is we don't work with them 99% of the time. Now, if I had to defend the other side, if let's say they asked me to lobby the Florida bar as to why non-lawyers should run law practices, I can tell you that lawyers make just as bad financial decisions as doctors because their egos get in the way and they think they're so smart because they succeeded so many times throughout life academically that they don't realize the complexities of running a business. And as an entrepreneur, the hardest thing of running a business is knowing how to deal with personalities, knowing how to deal with egos, knowing how to invest money the right way rather than just, business 101 is keep expenses low. But in a law firm, you don't necessarily succeed by doing that because you don't have the right staff, so that you're stuck doing jobs that you can delegate to, and you're not going out getting new business,
mm.
and you're just working your tail off for status quo. So, yeah, there are reasons why I think it would make sense, especially in personal injury law, because that's, I think, out of all areas of law, that's the one area that you could franchise because
Mm-hmm.
the biggest expense is marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at every billboard in South Florida that
Mm-hmm.
represents a lawyer, it's a personal injury law firm. So,
Mm-hmm.
under that area of law, I think it would be extremely important and helpful if you had a non-lawyer run the business. But the challenge here is, I don't think it will ever be accepted in Florida, is that you need somebody who can act in the client's best interest. That's the first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost rule, fundamental rule for lawyers. And if you're running the business and you don't have a license to practice, you can't do that.
Even how do you define yourself? Entrepreneur first and lawyer after, or lawyer first and entrepreneur after? And why?
Entrepreneur first, because if I was a lawyer first, I would find work elsewhere.
Oh, that's a great answer. Um, what are the, when you become an entrepreneur, there are things that you like to do and there are things that you don't like to do, right? That's the
Yeah.
the things about being an entrepreneur that, especially when we start the business, we need to wear all the hats, right? So
Yes.
when you started to grow your business, and as an entrepreneur, how you embrace things that you don't like to do, but you have to do. For example, let's say that sales and marketing. Let's say that you don't like it to do it, but at the beginning, you have to do it yourself, at least because you need to learn, as entrepreneurs, we need to learn the basics of how the arms of our business works, because otherwise, how we're going to hire people, how we're going to give them target, how we're going to measure how good they do in the job. So when you start to grow your business, which were the tasks that you didn't like to do and still you have to do it, and how you overcome that challenge?
This might be a little unique answer. I don't think you probably ever heard this answer before, but it's when you asked that, went right to the core of who I am. It's hard being a lawyer and an
Hmm.
entrepreneur at the same time.
Absolutely. I'm aware of
So
it.
when I was a stockbroker before I was a lawyer, it was cold calling 200 people a day.
Oh,
But
wow.
once you got them as a client,
That's intense.
it was intense. But once you got them as a client, it wasn't about billable hours because the hardest part of the job was getting the client, convincing the client, especially I was 21 at the time. I looked like I was 12. I wouldn't invest in my 21-year-old self, but convincing somebody to do that. Once you convince them to do that, you only had about 10% of your job requirement left with that individual. The hardest part of the job and the most time you spent every single day was cold calling. As a lawyer, you don't cold call, but you put money into the foundation of your
Even because it's
business.
not allowed. It's not allowed
Yeah,
cold calling, no?
exactly. No, it's not.
Yeah, on top of that,
But
it's
you
a highly regulated industry. You cannot do
exactly,
as a law firm things that you can do in other businesses, like cold calling, this and that. So
exactly, exactly.
on top of that, you have to be very careful, right? It's highly
But
regulated,
you
yeah.
still put the effort in to get the new clients. So you could spend hours and days trying to get new business, but whether it's seminars,
Mm,
advertisements, networking meetings, and you finally sit down with somebody and you get them to write you a check. And the
mm,
hardest thing is now you have to do the work.
yeah.
So as a stockbroker, 90% of the job was getting the work. As a lawyer, 25% of the job is getting the work because there's so much work to get done,
Hmm.
and you have to learn how to balance those two. Because without one, you don't have the other, and vice versa.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit more, if people are in love with this conversation, how people can find you, even how this process works,
The easiest way to
and
find
what you
me
guys
is
specialize.
we specialize in estates trust, asset protection. If you own a business, we'll protect your wealth. If you're an employee, we will too employee protect your wealth. Just three different, more basic strategies. We do tax strategies as well because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And
Hmm.
you could find me at turklawgroup.com. That's Turk lawgroup.com and Turk Law Group on all social media handles. My offices are in Boca Raton and West Palm Beach, Florida. But we do have attorneys admitted to practice law not only in Florida, but in New Jersey, California, and New York.
Oh, wow.
And
Even can you tell us the title of your book and where people can buy it?
it's called Asset Protection by Design, and you can find it on Amazon.
Okay. Author Evan
Or
Turk, right?
I'm so yeah, author. Yeah, I used my initials, EW Turk. Apparently, I thought my whole life I was the only Evan Turk until an
Uh,
internet search, and then there was someone else, a New York Times bestselling author by the same name. So I went
wow.
by EW Turk. But sometimes people cold call me and ask for Turk. So, but it's EW Turk, Asset Protection by Design. The easiest way to find me is online on Amazon. Just type in EW Turk or Asset Protection by Design, or go on my website, Turk Law Group. The book's right there. And if you send me an email, I might be inclined to send you a free copy.
Why inspired you to do this challenge about writing this book? I wrote several. Well, I wrote several. No, ghostwritten, yeah. Work with ghostwriters to produce my books. How was the challenge to deciding for you to write the book, and when do you decide that is the moment to let it go? Because in my experience, every time you write in a book, you read it and you say, "Wow, I can do it better. I can do it better. I can do it better." But there is a time that you need to let the book go. How long took you to write this book, and when do you realize that was the right moment to just let it go?
Yeah, well, the saying by Voltaire, um, enemy, it's perfect is the enemy of good. And I basically gave myself a timeline of 4 months, and I gave myself a 3 hour daily allocation. I got up a little bit earlier, and I went to the office before I looked at emails, took phone calls, anything. I had to physically get to the office, so I got there around 7:30 to 10:30, and I didn't do it 5 days a week. I did it probably 3 to 4 because life happens.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
And I didn't write the longest book. I wrote the most effective book, meaning, um, if you could get, and this is how I run my law practice. If you could get to your destination in less traffic, in less time, then why not do it that way? And the same thing with the book. No one wants to read a long-winded book. It's not like this is going to win the best-selling book for fiction. This is something that people need to know, get to the answers right away, and understand it. So the way I wrote it was how I learned in law school was I would state a fact pattern and use examples, real life examples of that fact pattern so people could understand the context of what I was saying. So a lot of it was examples and explanations of those examples, and it made the book a lot easier to write. I chose more basic topics because if they need more detailed topics, that's why they need to hire me, right?
Yeah.
So, but I gave them the foundation for them to do it without me, but also the ask to do it with me. And but it's getting a client who has looked at the book or at least read a chapter of it and said, okay, before our next meeting, here's my book, read chapter 5. And that's been exceptionally
Amazing.
helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a great way. So because the prospect and the client, they get to know you even before speaking with you, and they know how you think, what are your
Exactly.
point of views. So if they're aligned with that, they can speak with you, right?
Right.
Otherwise, we both move on and nobody waste time. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Ivan, this interview has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah. And you made my day today. And I'm going to tell all my friends, look, today, one of the lawyers of Donald Trump show up in my podcast. They're not
Yeah,
going to
no.
believe it.
Well, there's plenty of them, but I run the
I
charity
know, but
right now, and
still, yeah, it's something to to tell my friends. So,
yeah, no, it's really interesting, and it's funny because and it goes back to the purpose of your podcast. You
mhm,
build the foundation,
mhm.
um, and you keep your mind open for opportunities that present itself, and you'll be shocked how
100%.
different your life goes. There's that saying, people plan, God laughs. I can't come up with a better saying than that.
Yeah, as soon as you are in the space, even, yeah, creating the good framework, opportunity will come to you, and this is actually happened to you big time. Yeah, who would know?
You have to be
By that,
prepared. You
but
have to be
even
prepared, right?
last
Yeah.
question. When you were with him already, he was a president, or he was not president? when you were with him and after he became president?
It was both. So it
Oh,
was
wow.
during his first term and at the end of
Wow.
his first term.
Wow. Even more difficult. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, no, my favorite
even more
story about
challenges.
him. My favorite story about him is you don't really get to speak with him that often. In the meetings, it was Peter who went to the military school to sit down with him, explain what we were doing, the work product, all of that stuff. And then I had this great idea to talk to him about what we should do. And I sat down with him, and I've had many minimal conversations about like the meatloaf at Mar-a-Lago or what do you think about this or that? Like nothing really in depth. And
Uh-huh.
then the first time I had my first in-depth conversation, it was completely a different person talking to him because he had this serious mode to him that is a little different than his jovial mode because it's like, let's get down to business. So you see a
Yeah.
little different side of him. And it was
Yeah.
not that he's anything but what you see, but you understand the genius behind him when you have that
Mm.
type of conversation. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. A lot of experience, and also got very good sense of humor. People like people with good sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah,
This,
absolutely.
yeah. So, okay. So, Ivan, thank you so much for the broadcast and for all of you following the broadcast. See you in our next episode of Unstoppable. How brave entrepreneur like Ivan Turk break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.